think, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's better. Ah, so apparently it's called the Mexican wave in Bulgaria. We have so many people, and I really want to take a picture of this. Can we all do the Mexican wave? Why is it called the Mexican wave? Okay, 3, 2, 1 from the front. Go. Okay. It was great. It was great. Okay. Why do you call it a Mexican wave? We've done it in St. Louis forever. Right, Burke? It's a southern wave. Okay. We basically, in St. Louis, we do the wave, and then we sit down and keep eating. So that's the way it works. I'm so excited. Come in, find a seat. This is really, really exciting to me. So I hope you're going to enjoy the talk, maybe learn a couple things. And today, I was supposed to talk about making your app smarter with NativeScript and Angular, but I changed the title because I really dislike the word smart. There's many kinds of intelligence. There's many different ways to be smart. And I also think smart has become one of those meaningless words because we have smartphones, we have smart apps, the IoT is smart. I don't even know what that word means anymore. So I clarified this. That's a pun, and you're going to figure this out later. I clarified it by saying that we are going to boost our app's emotional intelligence. And I'm going to give you 3 strong strategies to make your NativeScript apps feel all the feels. Okay. Are you big fans of Bitmoji in Bulgaria? Bitmoji, the little images? Okay, well, then you're going to learn even more. Oh, boy. I'm like a Bitmoji evangelist at this point. So in Progress Telerik DevRel, we try to innovate as much as we can. My contribution to technology is putting Bitmoji into my slides. My colleague Tara has pioneered rap. And what else does she do? She does a lot of other fun things. Oh, yeah, she does limericks. The limerick challenges that she does. If you ever go to one of Tara's talks, she has pioneered the use of limericks in technical talks. So we try to do the best we can with the tools that we have. So who am I? Hi, my name's Jen. I'm DevRel at Progress. And you can always find me on Twitter or on Slack. And you can follow me at Jen Looper. And I won a lot of tweets from this packed house. So it's very exciting. So let's talk a little bit about NativeScript. How many NativeScript developers do I have in this house? Like the whole front row is going to be like, yeah. Great. Then I'm going to go through the next slides and give you a little background about what I'm going to be talking about. So since I am a developer evangelist for NativeScript, let's give a little definition of what we're talking about here. So NativeScript is an open source framework for building truly native mobile apps with JavaScript. You can use your web skills like TypeScript, Angular, and CSS, and get native UI and performance on iOS and Android. And if you came to the talk this morning, you saw this same slide. So this is a little bit of a review, but that's OK. I'm going to go a little bit faster than I went this morning. But the premise of the product that we talk about is that NativeScript is the best tool for cross-platform native app development. Why do we say this is so? Well, because with NativeScript, you're able to create this kind of rich, animated, no-compromise native UI with shared code. So you're writing once and running it on iOS and Android. We also have some great code sharing stories. Sebastian is the king of code sharing, with Angular especially. And there's a lot of awesome things that you can do to create native apps with JavaScript. I mean, if you think about that, that's actually pretty magical in and of itself. If you know JavaScript, you know NativeScript. And you can use the tools that you and your shops may already have in-house to get started with NativeScript. You can use JavaScript, CSS3, NPM modules, NPM packages. You can bring them into your app and create unique experiences for your users. Use Angular 2 and up. What are we at, 5? Angular 5 at this point. You can use Sass to dress up your CSS. If you like to use Sass, that's awesome. You can use Webpack, and you're going to want to use Webpack if you are building an Angular NativeScript app to kind of speed up the load times and use all the cool things that Webpack brings to the table. You can use TypeScript if you like. I love TypeScript. I always say once you go TypeScript, you never go back. So, Mark, I don't think you're in agreement, but that's OK. And we have this new community integration with Vue, which is really exciting. So we have some awesome folks on Slack who just decided one day, well, we're going to just spin up a Vue integration with NativeScript. So Vue.js. Any Vue people here? Who's loving Vue? Vue is the bomb.com. Or as we say in Boston, it's the cat's pajamas. So something to think about. So I know this is a bit trigger language for the Java developers out there, but it is actually the case that you write once and run everywhere. So instead of writing, native code like this new Java IO file and insert the path to start manipulating paths and files in your NativeScript apps, or this lovely Objective-C code, NS file manager, default manager, file manager, create file at path contents attributes path. Instead of writing all that stuff, you can use our NativeScript modules. So here's an example of a NativeScript module. You import the file system module, and then you just create a new file. So that's really amazing. So you don't have to write all this stuff again and again and again in 2 different languages. You're writing in JavaScript, TypeScript, and you can use a framework if you like, or if you don't, that's fine too. So we've abstracted away some of the complexity of writing native code. You can use NativeScript modules like the switch module. Very, very simple, just a few, not even a line of code, it's just a few keystrokes at this point, and with IntelliSense it's even less. But you can create a native switch just by having switch open and then close, and this is drawing you a beautiful native Android or iOS switch for your mobile app. If you want something really custom, like a fingerprint auth, or fancy things with the accelerometer, or cool things with your camera, or the AR plugin, you're going to perhaps want to build a plugin. This is not my forte, not something I love to do on a Sunday night, but we have in the front row the king of plugins. He's like looking around. Eddie Verbreggen, the king of NativeScript plugins, is here. And I'm actually dogfooding. I'm using the Firebase plugin in this demo that I'm going to show you today. So it's very, very good. He loves the Firebase plugin, right? Yeah. But anyway, you can build your own or rely on Eddie's like I do. You can bring in packages from Android Arsenal. You can use CocoaPods. Currently, I'm looking at the fabulous TensorFlow experimental CocoaPod, 400 megs. It's a gigantic CocoaPod, but maybe with that we could, get some machine learning in our NativeScript apps. So stay tuned and join us on Slack on the TensorFlow channel. Or you can go ahead and look at some of the 600 other plugins that people have built, and you just want to surf over to market.nativescript.org and just search. Just search for any plugin you might like to use, and it's probably there. That's really, really cool. And if it isn't, ask on Slack, and somebody will probably build it for you. So speaking of Slack, this is our NativeScript community Slack channel. It is cray-cray, and it has, at this point, 4,800, as of the last screenshot, people screaming at each other on the NativeScript Slack community channel. So it's a very exciting place to be. And we really enjoy helping people. What I love to see is when our developer experts, our community people become developer experts and then help other people. So they were helped and now they're helping. So for me, it's all about helping other people. So enough with the product pitch, Jen. Let's cut to the chase. No more blah, blah, blah about NativeScript. You can always find out what you're wanting to know about NativeScript by going to nativescript.org. Click the big green Getting Started button on the homepage, and you will find what you need to find. So, who just wakes up in the middle of the night like I do sometimes thinking, oh my Lord, my apps are stupid and boring. I can't even. It's just a master detail screen with a switch. At least it's a native switch. But it's really not that exciting. Well, let's fix that. Let's fix it today. Because we have the tools, we have the power to fix the boring and the stupid app. Because with just one plugin, I'm going to show you how to turn your app into a personal assistant. Isn't that amazing? And I'm also going to show how to use a couple of machine learning APIs that are really, really easy and simple to spin up and brings a lot of power into your NativeScript app. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what's on the bleeding edge, a little bit about what's coming next. So that's our 3 items on our agenda today. So again, this word, to make your apps smarter. When I say smart in this context, I think make them more helpful, make them more human, make them more useful for you and your users. So we're all about intuition at this point. OK, let's build something. So enough of the blabber. Let's talk about how I built the demo that I'm going to talk about today. So I used one of my favorite stacks, which is Angular, NativeScript, and Firebase. How many Firebase lovers in here? Wow. Ooh, OK. Well, Firebase is really, really nice. It was acquired by Google, I believe. I think it was separate and acquired by Google. And they've got a lot of amazing developer advocates. David East is a really, really great guy. But I built an app called QuickNoms. It is a smart recipe app. Oh gosh, I got to stop with the smart. It's a intuitive and intelligent and emotive recipe app. And it's powered by Firebase and NativeScript. It has a website and a mobile app, and they complement each other. And the story behind QuickNoms is that I sent my oldest daughter last year to college. I'm in Boston. She went off to Vancouver. It's kind of a hike, way across the world. And as she's leaving, I just realized, oh, I forgot to teach this child how to cook. She really doesn't know how to cook. And you start worrying, you start worrying that, she's going to starve. She's going to turn into a skeleton. It's not going to go well. And so what I did is I decided, okay, well, let's create a little repository of recipes that she could spin up, that she might have, a couple of eggs in a frying pan, a little olive oil, and a wooden spoon. And with that, she can get dinner on the table. So that's the idea. 5 ingredients, 15 minutes, minimal setup. So I'm not expecting, the galloping gourmet or any of this stuff. This is really basic stuff. And then I launched this little Facebook site so that my friends started contributing their own QuickNoms. A great example of that, well, my sister-in-law gave the dry ribs recipe and also the pepper salt wings. And my friend Jay gave bachelor sushi. Bachelor sushi is the best recipe ever. It's like tuna fish out of the can, on some rice. It's great. I'll explain. We'll learn how to make bachelor sushi. This is really desperation mode. Okay. So this is the website. I will show you the website right here. And the idea is, and this is all powered by the same Firebase instance, but you can see how the mobile app kind of reflects the web app. But you submit your recipes on the web. They flow into Firebase because Firebase has this fantastic real-time support. They flow into Firebase. I approve them because I learned the hard way not to just slam things into production just for the fun of it. And once they're approved, then they appear magically on the web and in the mobile app. So for example, the meat recipes here, right here. And this is a lovely Angular app. Here's my dry ribs. Here's bachelor sushi. I think it looks better on the mobile website personally, but that's just me. Okay. So that is the story of QuickNoms. Web plus mobile, very, very demoable. Now the mobile app has some special features that are brought to us by the power of Firebase. Not just the real-time updating of elements, of recipes out of the database, but it uses the remote config configuration that is part of the fabulous Firebase plugin. So remote config is kind of neat. It allows you to push content and even push content blocks into your mobile apps live. And it doesn't have to go through the app approval process. So Apple is understandably a bit nervous about this, but so far so good. They seem to be okay with this, minimalistic pushing of content towards their users. The UI that I copied basically to create this interface is a recipe app called Forks Over Knives. It's a vegetarian recipe app, and it has this kind of cool content push, and I wanted to integrate that into my app. I didn't do it as well as they did, but every time there's a recipe, there's a marquee, and then it tells you that there's something new, and then they have a nice red ribbon new recipe, so it really keeps you kind of up to date. They also have push notifications, and you can do that with Firebase, but I really am not a big fan of loading up a lot of push notifications in my apps. And another cool feature that I used is a plugin from Algolia. Any people know Algolia? Algolia is great. They are a French company, and they are fabulous, and they're competing with Google, and I wish them the best. But they have a really easy and great way to add search into your mobile apps. And there's a nice community-built plugin that works great. You just put in your search box, and then you can start searching for bits and pieces. And it's free. It's one of these terrific tools that I recommend. Came in useful when I decided to build this lovely empathetic app from the basic master detail recipe app that I'd created prior. So how can you turn your app into a personal assistant with just one plugin? Let's find out. Well, it turns out you can try a plugin like the TextToSpeech plugin. And all you have to do to integrate the TextToSpeech plugin is just a few lines of code here. All I had to do is when I press speak, I pass it a string of text from wherever, anywhere in that recipe that I want it to speak out. I tell the speak rate for iOS specifically to be 0.5 because So this is kind of an amusing thing, but on iOS, it's kind of a normal speak rate. But on Android, she sounds really slow, and it sounds a bit like she's on crack. So, but anyway, Siri sounds pretty good. So I just left the speak rate at 0.5, but it would be cool to have a slider that your user could control to speed up or slow down. So that would be the next iteration of this integration. But text-to-speech plugin, super, super easy and works beautifully. Let's figure out how it works. OK. So here we are. Open up QuickNoms. All right. Now, we want to learn about the bachelor sushi recipe. So let me see if you can hear this. Hold on, you're not going to hear it. I have to crank it in QuickTime like this. And there's definitely a problem.
Rice. Japanese rice vinegar. Nori. Seaweed. Optional but tasty.
Let's try it again.
1 can tuna fish, 2 tea mayonnaise, 2 tea sriracha sauce, cooked rice, Japanese rice vinegar, nori, seaweed, optional but tasty.
I mean, that's pretty good, right? It's really pretty good. So when you're in the kitchen and you've got your hands all chocolatey, like me, I'm a kind of a messy cook. My mother used to tell me, you're a messy cook. And I am a messy cook. The last thing you want to be doing is, fiddling with your phone while you're trying to stir things. Personal assistant, it works. It just works. So easy way to go ahead and make your app just a little bit more helpful. Cancel that. OK. And the other cool thing is that you can tell that Siri has been learning how to pronounce things properly. So she used to say sriracha sauce. Now she says sriracha sauce. I think because I've trained her on this recipe so many times, now she knows sriracha is sriracha. It's a kind of hot sauce. So in case that's not a thing here, which is fine. You're all like, what is she talking about? OK, now we get to the meat. The other kinds of meat. The meat of the talk. The meat of the talk is how to add some machine learning to your app. And this is super fun. So it is also kind of the perfect use case for getting your feet wet in machine learning if you're just getting into this. Full disclosure, I majored in French. I am not, I'm not an algorithmical person. I am not someone who is huge in all of these new things. Oh boy, I'm trying to quit this thing. Cancel. But yes, you are able to get into machine learning if you are into mobile apps, because it's a really, really great use case. Think of all the things we can do with our mobile devices. They're basically an extension of our body. So we can, give all kinds of, biometrical details. We can give lots of photos, videos, audio input, all kinds of things. The mobile device is the perfect use case for handling machine learning. And as we know, machine learning is very easy. Well, actually, it's not. It's actually incredibly difficult. And Paige Bailey, knocks it out of the park every time she talks about it. So I strongly recommend following her on Twitter because she actually knows what she's talking about. I went through the Andrew Ng course in Coursera. Anybody struggle through that course? That is a laugh riot. Isn't it great? Yes. So the Andrew Ng course is 11 weeks of torment. Going through that on Coursera, he left Baidu and I went to Stanford, and he basically created Coursera by creating this machine learning course that everybody's taking. And it's quite the job. But it turns out that you don't have to, spin up these kind of machine learning models yourself all the time. You can use some APIs. So we're going to look at how to do that. But before I do that, I just wanted to mention what machine learning is. We've got a lot of data scientists in here. Yeah. So that's OK, because you can think of machine learning as just a way to give computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. That's kind of like the basic idea of what machine learning is. But a better definition is that, here we go. A computer program is said to learn from experience E with respect to some class of tasks T and performance measure P if its performance at tasks T as measured by P improves with experience E. It's not hard. It's not a problem. We can do this. Just focus on the idea of improving, because that's what you want. You're taking loads of data, and you're tweaking the algorithm until it gets the right answer for you. So yes, this is me after a certain point dealing with all this stuff. But that's OK, because we can get through it. So there are many ways to make a machine learn. Probably the most basic way is by supervised learning. So what you do is you gather a lot of data. You gather images, sounds, audio clips, all kinds of data. Divide the data into a training set and a test set. And the training set is categorized. It's sorted by hand or by machine. You're saying, this is a parrot, this is a plum, this is a pear. And the test set is uncategorized. And you're going to use an algorithm to train a model with the training set by pairing the input with an expected output. I think it's a parrot. Here are the pixels of a parrot. It's a parrot. OK? It's not guacamole. And then you use the test set to test the accuracy of the training. Repeat, repeat, repeat until you see the learning curve going like this. It gets nice and flat, and then you get to about 85% of accuracy, and your job is finished. So that's supervised learning. There's also unsupervised learning and semi-supervised learning, and that is out of scope of this talk. So just a little taste of what this sort of thing is. So machine learning in the wild, whether we know it or not, machine learning is more and more omnipresent, and it's really especially omnipresent on our mobile devices. I am a big fan of a company called Stitch Fix, and I think they are a great example of how machine learning can be done properly. So Stitch Fix is a service that allows you to input your preferences of clothing and jewelry, and they'll send you a box of awesome clothes, or what they think is awesome, and hopefully you love them too because you'll buy them. So it's one of these box services. There are also food services, there's makeup services, there's all these boxes that you can get. Stitch Fix does it beautifully, because what they do is they combine machine learning and human curation, and they also have a nice blog, and they explain what they're doing, which I really appreciate because it's kind of out in the open. And they use formulas to pick out the clothes based on customer input. So the first touch you have with Stitch Fix is you tell them, I like this dress, but that one's hideous, that sort of thing. And then they also use formulas to pair a shopper with a stylist. So my stylist is Rebecca. She's my friend. I think she's real, but she's a person. I write her letters, thank you, that was really nice. So I'm hoping she's real. I think she's real. And they also use formulas to calculate the distance of a warehouse to a customer. That's really neat because, that makes the whole system a bit more efficient. I'm in the Boston area. I think my clothes are coming from New York. So that's nice. And then they use algorithms to search and classify clothing trends to recommend. And I think this is a great use of machine learning. It's curated. It has some checks and balances. It's opt-in. I decided what I want, I tell them what I want, and I give them feedback about what I did like and I didn't like. And a human helps with the whole process. So that's really great. End result is, you're walking down the streets of Boston like a rock star. So that is the end result. Now, there are also some scary uses of machine learning. This image circulated around Twitter. I don't know if you saw it, from China. And what they're doing in China, actually, is that they are installing a ton of surveillance cameras. There is one surveillance camera for every 41 Chinese. Let's think about that number for a second. That is literally a lot of surveillance cameras. And you're asking me why I search under my bed, and I just realized it's probably because of this slide. That's why. So, yes, I'm looking for surveillance cameras in my rooms at this point. This sort of research does get you a little paranoid after a while. And they're getting really good at machine learning powered facial recognition. So they're just getting incredibly, incredibly skilled at figuring out who is where, what they're up to, and who they're with. It matches their face to an ID. And it's doing things like monitoring group emotions. Is everybody happy today? Great. If everybody's not happy, let's push some propaganda at them and make them happy. Let's push some good news. And I don't know, but maybe Facebook is doing this kind of thing too. It's not just in China. But it's quite frightening the way emotions can be manipulated because they're just gathering so much data. Of course, everybody's pushing ads at you based on the data that they're gathering from you. They're pushing ads based on age and gender, and that can work great when you're on Spotify and they're recommending music, or on Amazon and they're recommending products. Well, maybe not so great, but and they're invisibly. Some systems are invisibly tracking your location. This is certainly not an opt-in scenario happening in China. I do not like it at all. So I just want to kind of raise this as something that's going on and raise this concept that I think that we need to be aware of the power of this kind of technology and be empowered to be in staff meetings and have things pushed at us as developers. You're going to build this, and just say, I don't think so. So I want you to take that power as developers as much as you can and think about, we are the ones who eventually have to build this stuff. Just hold on. So for me, that is a big nope. No surveillance without my knowledge, please. But then there's these kind of interesting use cases that are both good and bad. So it turns out that the top line item of cost in the Boston school system is the school bus routes. Brian is intimately aware of the school bus route scenario. Well, they had a little hackathon at MIT. This is always a disaster when they do hackathons at MIT and they ask for algorithms to optimize the school bus routes. Maybe we can, fix this so that, we can maybe get a little bit more efficient at picking up people, and this sort of thing actually has happened. And the winner was able to eliminate 50 superfluous routes. They just put this into production this year. That's fabulous. They saved $3 to $5 million. They also fired 50 union bus drivers. So I'm sorry, but these are solid union jobs. I used to belong to a union. I'm all about workers' rights. This is like... So I think that, perhaps it's great on one level, but it can be really catastrophic on another level, and we just need to be aware. So that's the takeaway, and I'm going to get off that. Okay. So with great power comes great responsibility. So for a more cheerful example of some of the really great stuff that's going on in the machine learning and AI arena, the Snow Leopard Trust has partnered with Microsoft. Any Microsofties here? Oh, there's one. Well, give yourself a pat on the back because Microsoft is killing it. Thank you, Brooke. In terms of they're doing a great job using the AI for good, using machine learning for good. Can you spot the Snow Leopard in this picture? It's right in the middle. Well, they're working, so the Snow Leopard Trust has set up cameras, and then they're basically created a little image recognition algorithm that detects whether this is a snow leopard or not. And they're tracking how many are left in the wild, because they're a highly endangered animal. So they're it's helping basically to preserve these beautiful animals. So that is a really cool thing. And I just learned about AI for Earth, another terrific Microsoft initiative. And you can visit it at AI for Earth on this website. They're working on solving really big questions of climate change. How many bees are left and what are they up to? Biodiversity, this kind of thing. Agriculture, which is closely tied to water conservation, this sort of thing. So even if governments may not be so invested, some companies are, and bravo. Okay, back to reality. Back to demo time. So just to talk about how to actually go ahead and, in a practical fashion, implement these kind of machine learning algorithms into your mobile apps. So as I mentioned, DIY, do-it-yourself machine learning is actually quite difficult, and you do need a lot of firepower and skills. I do have TensorFlow running on my computer, but you can feel the thing heat up. I could heat my room with this computer is just not amused at having to, crunch that much data. You need a lot of skills to manage the situations as they come along. But you can also, instead of trying to do it yourself, you can use a third party and use these pre-trained models. So one of the models that I used is the food model from Clarify, back to my recipe app, right? So anybody heard of Clarify? Fantastic company. New York company. I love them. They've fended off being acquired by Facebook and Google, and they're just crushing it. So I love them to death. Clarify is fantastic. Google Cloud Platform, same thing, but they're doing the same sort of work. So again, more power to the small company. So Clarify, they are specialists. They are brilliant at image analysis, and they didn't take the first prize. They took all top 5 prizes in the 2013 ImageNet Challenge. The ImageNet Challenge is this contest that they have every year to figure out who's doing the best image recognition algorithms, and Clarify crushes it every time. They're really great. They have innovative techniques to train these models to analyze images. And for us, they give us the gift of using pre-trained models. There's the food model, there's a wedding one, there's a not safe for work one. That's very, very useful if you're trying to build a website with a lot of images, and maybe you want to filter out the stuff that's not safe for work. I don't know why they did the wedding module, but there's a lot of bride dresses, and they're very pretty. And in beta, on the Clarify website, you can train your own model using all the images they've accumulated. So that's really, really neat. So my use case was to test whether a dish might qualify as a QuickNom. So I used Clarify's pre-trained food model to analyze images of plates of food and see if I'm in a restaurant, for example, and I really love a dish, take a picture of it, analyze what's in it, and maybe it might qualify as a QuickNom. So here's the code behind that. In NativeScript, you just take a photo and crunch it down to 300 by 300 pixels. That seems to be pretty good. Save it to your gallery. Don't bother as a one-off. And then you process it by sending it to Clarify via a REST API call. And this is all you need to do. You just got to get your API key from Clarify. Very, very easy. And you're just sending this image data as a base 64. And it comes back with a series of tags. So it'll say, this is a picture of something that I think are bananas, pears, apples, cucumbers, and hot peppers. So you can grab these tags, and the algorithm that I kind of created, it's not the most perfect thing in the world, but I'm grabbing the tags and testing the certainty. So usually QuickNom dishes have certain ingredients that you can easily discern. If it's a fruit salad, there's about 5 ingredients, and you can see them easily. If it's a really composed, cooked dish, it might not work so well. So I'm looking at the certainty of tags that are sent back, and I'm saying whether it might or might not be a QuickNom. So here's the demo of how that works. OK. Let's try. OK, this is mapo tofu. And I want to get it down. There it is. OK. Bachelor sushi. OK. Ooh. Oh, awesome. That's going to be a heck of a movie. Let's try this again. OK. OK, here we go. So I have all my good stuff in the side drawer. So it's right here. And I have this QuickNom or not test. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of this mapo tofu, see what it says. And it's going to go to Clarify, and the image is going to be analyzed. And these API calls sometimes can take a few seconds. It says it might be a QuickNom. Well, let's see what it says. It's pork, chicken, poutine, tofu, beef, chili. So it has a certain amount of certainty. I guess it could be. You can see the ingredients. Well, let's try a fruit salad. Let's see what it says. Come. Yes, definitely. This should qualify as a QuickNom because it's strawberry, berry. There's a mint leaf. It found it. Fruit salad. Yes, obviously. And it's a sweet salad, and there's apples and blueberries and all sorts of good things. So it's kind of neat, right? It's kind of cool. All right, now, this is the big test. This is Shopska. I took this picture. I took this picture in the restaurant. The other one, the Rakia Raketa. And it was wicked good because I ate the whole thing. Okay, here we go. You think it's going to be a QuickNom? Let's see what it says. It should be. And in fact, I'm looking for a Go recipe. So if anybody wants to go to quicknoms.com and give me your Shopska recipe, I'm a big fan. I come to Bulgaria for the yogurt and Shopska. Yes. Come on. See, it's puzzled by Bulgarian foods. It's like, see, I didn't think so. It doesn't know what it's looking at because it thinks it's pasta and parmesan, chicken, spaghetti, rice, garlic, sauce. It's completely off. And this is a great example because it's not been trained on Bulgarian food. It doesn't understand what it's looking at. It's only probably been trained on ratchet American food. So here we go. So that's a great example of how these things can fall over. All right, that's the Clarify API with the tags that come back. Yay, food model. They need to retrain on the Shopska. Well, what about if you're wandering through the grocery store and you're completely uninspired? This happens to me constantly. And you think, well, here's something. Maybe I can make QuickNom with it. Here's an apple. Do I have any QuickNom recipes that I can use with an apple? Or if you're looking in your refrigerator, you stand in front of the fridge with the door open for 5 hours and think, like, what am I going to make? Well, let's see. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and try a different machine learning API, and I'm going to use Google Vision's API to match images with recipes. Luckily, I had my Algolia search built in, so it's ready to roll. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Google Cloud Platform and what it does. So we saw that Clarify gives you certain models that you can test against. Well, Google, it just gives you everything. Because you remember how you've been uploading all of your Google Photos? Well, it's been analyzing the heck out of them. So isn't that nice? Again, with the opt-out. So it's taking its millions of photos that by now it's consumed, and it's analyzing them with the Cloud Vision API. But nicely of Google, they've also exposed that API to us so that we can now take advantage of everybody else's pictures in the world. So that's cool. It gives you back labels. It can give you explicit content detection. So you see how it's a little bit different from Clarify. Instead of something pre-trained, it's just everything. It can test for logos. Landmark detection. There's a bridge that looks exactly like the Golden Gate Bridge in Brazil, and it can actually tell the difference. It's pretty neat. Face detection. Everybody's doing face detection. I'm telling you, in the morning I don't look the same as I do in the evening. Anyway, web detection. I like this because you could do a fashion app, and you could take pictures of people, maybe if they allow you to, who have clothing that you like, and then you can say, buy this on the web. This kind of thing. That's a useful thing. So here's how to build such a thing. Again, take a photo in your NativeScript app, crunch it to 300 by 300, and send it to your API via as an image asset. And now I'm going to query the Google Vision API, again with my images base 64 call here. So I crunched that into a string. So I call the Vision API, and what you have to do is you have to tell what kind of, what type of query you want from Google. So for this, I'm only going to get the labels back. I don't even really care about the certainty. I just want the first label that comes back, because I'm going to assume that's the most obvious thing that it's seeing. So grab the first label, and then I'm going to send it to my Algolia search that I already happen to have implemented, thank goodness. So we just take that label, and then we search the recipes in an NG zone to keep it all tidy. Demo time. Okay. Where did I put my stuff? Here it is. Aha. Do I have any orange recipes? Bananas? Any apple recipes? Let's find out. Okay. So this is the ingredient search capacity. Let's try an orange. I actually don't think I have any orange recipes, but let's see. Let's see if it knows what it's looking at. Oh, you can see. Okay, good. So sending it to the Google Vision API. Come on, Google, don't let me down. Ah, that was interesting. So it thinks it's a clementine, and I don't have any clementine recipes. Clementine is a variety of orange. It actually is a clementine. Thanks, Google. Let's try a banana. All right, let's get the brown spots to show. Come on, not that dumb. Yes. So that was kind of cool because it thinks this is like the first tag that came back is yellow, and here it saw the brown spots. Oh, that must be a banana. Maybe the tag did it too. So we have some banana splits, power shakes. Let's see if it understands what a green apple is. I don't know. Let's find out. You might think it's something. Use photo. Ah, wow. So there we go. And I do recommend my pie recipe. It's a good one. I make it all the time if you really want some. Let's try it. I know I don't have any. Well, let's see. The any pie recipe might come back, but it's only going to get back. I'm going to say that it's probably going to say fruit. But let's see, because it's just the first label that comes back. Fruit, yeah. But still, so somewhere in this recipe, the word fruit comes up. Probably in French toast, I think. Serve plain with fruit or syrup. We're so healthy, so health conscious. Well, you know, it works. You can peel a banana and throw it on, whatever. Okay. Okay, that's fun. All right. So let's take a look at what's coming up in the future. Looking forward. Very interesting to see what's going on. Looking forward. So we saw how DIY machine learning is difficult if you try to do it yourself. Well, it's getting a little bit easier. Like I said, I have TensorFlow installed on my machine. There's a fantastic startup called machinelabs.ai. It's founded by some friends from the Angular community, and they are doing amazing work. You can write Python in the browser, and then they send it to their CPUs and their GPUs, and it'll train for you. You just like set it and forget it, like a crock pot, you know. And that really is an exciting project, and I supported them, and if you're interested in machine learning and don't want to install a ton of junk on your computer, try their service. It's terrific. But what's really cool is, you could take some model that you trained, some custom model that you trained on the Clarify servers or on your local server or on Machine Labs server, and start using machine learning models right on your device, input them on your device, and start testing against those. That's really, really, the cutting edge. So this is where we want to be going, so that we can use custom models. Really interesting. For example, you may not want to do a bunch of REST API calls. You saw how it can get a little slow. If I don't have good Wi-Fi, it's completely toast. So that's like a weakness of this whole system. If you need offline capability, it's just not going to be happy, and if you do need to reduce costs at a certain level, both Clarify and Google, of course, they're going to start charging. And I think the costs with Google is just like, shoom, it just goes way up. Clarify is a little bit less, I think, but still, these API calls are going to add up. This is why this app is not released into the wild, because I'm afraid I don't want to pay. Or if you want to train something really custom, like a wonderful Bulgarian food model, that will actually know what the heck it's looking at with Shopska. That's a custom model that you want to train. Well, with iOS 11, and I was kind of appalled that they didn't really talk more about this at Apple, but CoreML has landed. CoreML is here. It's on our what is it, the 8 and up devices, I think. So this is just a 6 Plus. It's really huge, so it looks more impressive than it really is. But in iOS 11 and in the newer devices, CoreML is landed, and it's the ability to have these CoreML models imported onto your device and train against them. So you can do the whole system offline. It's fantastic. It's also extremely device-centric, so that's just of course, it's just for Apple. CoreML is only for Apple, which possibly is why you're not hearing as much about that as opposed to TensorFlow. So any TensorFlowers here? We're all TensorFlowers on GitHub. TensorFlow is really interesting, and it's Google's project, which they have open sourced, backed by their Deep Brain group. And they built it, selfishly enough, because they found Google Translate wasn't good enough. They wanted something really powerful, and they built this amazing tool that we can now use, and we can train our own stuff on device. And there's some terrific code labs. If you want to get started, take a look at the Google Code Labs. It's called TensorFlow for Poets. I love it to death. There's 2 of them. And the second one is all about how to get the stuff onto your device, because the models that you build are going to be really big, and you need some strategies to compress them. So anyway, it was released, actually, funnily enough, it was released for iOS initially. So it was first released for iOS and then for Android, for the lower-end Androids. And you can play with it and test with it, and you can run these things right now, today, on your device. As we know, TensorFlow powers Google Translate, and it does a pretty good job. I downloaded the Bulgarian model, and I was able to understand what I was looking at in the Rakia Raketa restaurant. So yes, it was tripe soup with God knows what, with pyridine veins. That kind of made me decide on the Shopska. So, but it was chicken soup, that's what it was. So that's nice. Pretty soon, perhaps we can, communicate with our pets, with our cats. Well, I have a fun demo for the app, which I think you're gonna like, because one of the most challenging languages to translate is actually Chinese. And so even though I bash on China a lot in this talk, my husband's actually Chinese, and my kids are half Chinese, and I found the Wellesley Chinese Language School in my town. So it's not like a lot, it's the surveillance I don't like, it's not the culture that I don't like. And my mother-in-law gave me these fabulous little riddles, nursery rhymes. They're all cut out of the newspaper very carefully, and she sent them all to me. And they're little riddles, what animal has these characteristics? And then it has a little Q&A, because it's always very educational, There's a little Q&A here, and a little quiz, and some fun facts down here. So if you use your Google Translate device, and you probably are all very proficient in Google Translate, but for me, this was a revelation, what Google Translate will do for you. So here we have, I'm still on the Bulgarian model, so let me switch to Chinese to English. And what it's going to do is it's going to try to understand what it's looking at. But it's confused because there's the English transliteration, which is called pinyin. So it's the way the Chinese characters sound. So English readers can read it more easily, but it doesn't understand what it's seeing. So what you got to do is take a picture, and it'll scan for you. It's looking for Chinese text, and it found some, and then you use your finger to go over it like this, and it'll give you the translation. So what animals meow? They like to sleep during the day. They have a good spirit in the evening. It's good to know. And the mice see it and do not escape. What could it be? It's a cat. It's not a dog. The mice see it. I love these. They're so cute. But this is really interesting because I did the same test on another person's Google Translate app. He got a little bit different results because I've been using this in demos several times now, and I think I've trained it so to get a little bit better translation. So on Chris's phone, it was a little bit more sketchy. But this is a great example of the beauty of TensorFlow. Right there. Come on. Cat, 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 cat. Cat. Anyway, but it's really pretty good. So I don't know. So what it actually says is, why does a cat have whiskers? In order to scare a tiger mouse, or in order to fan the air, or in order to capture the mouse. That's lousy. Let's try a different one. Here's something. In what season will a snail sleep or wake up? I don't know. Snail to winter sleep, to the winter cold when it sleep, up until spring to wake up in fisheries, the summer days. Well, you get the gist of it, right? You understand. You get the idea. So I love the Google Translate app. It's epic, but it's you can do this whole thing offline because you download model after model. You download, your Bulgarian model, and then you're in the store in the restaurants, and you can use it, and it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. Okay, so enough enthusing about Google. Okay, so that's Google Translate real-time text translation. And then my last demo is this one. So TensorFlow on device, they released a program called TensorFlow Mobile, and it allows you to test the way TensorFlow works on your device. It's already obviously out in the wild in the Google Translate app, but there's a little project that they released for Google I/O, and you can take a look at this app that they built with the CocoaPod, which is the TensorFlow experimental CocoaPod, all 400 megs of it. And this is kind of neat. It's been trained on a room, so it sees a spotlight and a projector and a stage and some bubbles. There's jellyfish. I think it's been trained on an ocean. But this isn't bad, right? It's never seen this room. So it's just learning, and it's training, and it's seeing what it can find. Does it know the fruits? Let's find out. Ping pong ball, see it just doesn't know. It's just not sure. But it does know that this is a computer keyboard, that kind of thing. And then it gives you the certainty freeze frame. And I think it'll speak out loud. What it's designed for is to help people get through a room if they're visually impaired. Microsoft has a much better example, which is called Seeing AI, which you've probably taken a look at. This one. But you can scan documents, and you can look for people, I think, short text documents products. A little bit different model, but another example. But I just want to bring it back to this idea that you can use these tools to actually help people and not always just be making money or making cute things or cool things. You can actually do things that will help people. And that is really the takeaway of what I wanted to discuss with you today. Because I think there's a lot of good we can do as long as we're a little bit wise about how we do it and make sure that the data we're collecting is collected responsibly. And so that is the end of this talk, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I would love to field any questions you have. Thank you. Questions? No questions? You're all going to go build amazing things? That's cool. Great. Thank you.